knows how long it is if you paid careful attention. So my name is Liz Silva, and I am a recovering bench scientist. I'm not an evolutionary biologist. I came from the field of developmental biology and genetics. I started my postdoc at UCSF in San Francisco in 2008. After a few years there, I moved to a job at PLOS. I was an editor at PLOS One. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that journal. We really loved the ecologists at PLOS One, I gotta say. I was there for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to move into a new position back at UCSF. They had an experimental new career exploration program called the MIND program. It's called Motivating Informed Decisions. So the MIND program is actually a research grant funded by the NIH, and the grant was, the purpose of it was to develop innovative new programs to help prepare our students and postdocs for all of the careers that they eventually go into, knowing that something like 85% are not going to be in faculty positions. And not only were we preparing these new programs, but it was also a research study. And so we really want to understand the challenges that students and postdocs face when they're trying to think about their careers, when they try to develop the skills to move into those jobs, when they actually move into those jobs to find out, what worked and what didn't work. And we also worked with faculty. So I spent 2 years working with faculty as well, trying to understand the challenges they face as mentors. When a student walks into their office and says, I'm not sure about this thing, or even when a student walks into their office and says, I am sure I want to do this thing, how do we help the faculty work with the student and postdoc? As Lenny sort of alluded to, faculty, that's not what they did. They were on the same career trajectory from the beginning of their PhD right up until they got tenure and beyond. And so, it was trying to figure out what tools and resources we can give them to equip them to talk about with you all the options that you have, knowing that they're just not going to have that data on hand. I'm now at UCSF still, but I very recently moved into a different position. So now I'm in administration, and I work with all of our graduate students at UCSF. My husband is also a scientist. We started our postdocs together in 2008 at UCSF, and he's still a postdoc. Yay! It's a long road. So in thinking about what I want to talk to you about today, I had a lot of things come into my head. I'm going to be one of those folks who will be at the booth tomorrow night from 5:45 to 7:45. So as Lex said, I'll be happy to talk about all sorts of other things that might come up for you, like how to make a resume out of a CV, how to do your LinkedIn profile, how to talk a little bit more about what your options are, if you wanted to talk about having conversations with your PI, if you have general questions about what it's like to be an editor, anything like that. So please come by, specifically tomorrow night especially, and I'll be there for probably the first half Sunday night until I have to go to the airport. But please feel free to drop by and ask questions further. But today I'm going to talk to you about the myIDP. So hopefully you all completed it. And the reason I wanted to start with the myIDP is because I sort of started with a base assumption that you all really aren't sure what you want to do. And so I wanted to provide some tools that will help you start to figure that out. There's no way you're going to have it figured out at the end of this 4-hour session. So what I hope is you'll be able to go back to your home cities, your home institutions, and even into the conference actually, to gather information about the careers that you might be interested in from the people here and from the people that you work and live with. So I'm going to start by giving you a glimpse into the array of jobs that are possible. And again, Lenny talked about how when he started to think about it, there were only 2 or 3 things that he thought about. And I'm sure that that's the case for all of you. Each of you in a unique research population, maybe there's a very small specific subset of jobs. And so I want to give you a look into the array of jobs that people who are in your field have gone into. I'm going to give you an overview of the myIDP, and we're going to sort of develop some of the language and clarity around the skills, interests, and values. So you each filled it out and you ranked these skills, interests, and values on scales of 1 to 5. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to navigate that information in the results. I'm going to talk about how to help you hopefully you'll have a better understanding of how to assess whether a job is a good fit for you by looking at your skills, interests, and values. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a structured approach for taking on your career exploration directly, how you can go out and find out more information about what will be good for you. And I'll talk a little bit also about some of the limitations of the approach. So this was taken directly from that survey that possibly all of your PIs filled out. Now remember, this is what the PI's recollection of the jobs were from his students and postdocs. But as you can see in the first part, people went into all sorts of different types of institutions. There's private, public, academic, startups, big companies, small companies. Some people were freelancers, some people are in nonprofits and NGOs, all different sectors of the workforce. And they are in all different fields. So again, these are people directly in your field, gone into consulting, science administration with government bodies, public health, science education for the public, going into museums, policy conservation, scientific societies in all sorts of ways, law and IP, communications, journalism, and then there's probably some of the ones that you're more used to thinking about, like staff scientist or higher ed teaching, so teaching at community colleges or liberal arts colleges. There was somebody in K-12 education and academic administration as well, which is where I would fall. So I want you to take a moment to answer these questions. First, what is your current career goal? So I want you to just write it down, make a note on your laptop. What is your current career goal? You can write down as many career goals as you want. And it can be vague, it can be specific, just write it down. And then I want you to write down, how confident are you in this career path? So take a moment to think about what was already alluded to further, like what level of confidence do you have in not only achieving that career goal, but it's something that you're actually going to want to do after you finish your PhD or postdoc.